Hello friends, welcome to the Trading Temple channel. Today we're going to analyze the ICP and Celestia coins and see what they're doing in the short term. The situation has become very tough both for ICP and for Celestia. With the prices you're seeing today, almost the entire market is in the red, and the situation has become very tough both for Bitcoin and for altcoins. The coin whose chart you're looking at is ICP. The situation has become very complicated because of this long range. We've basically been in this range since March 2025, fluctuating between $6.50 and $4. Now the price is moving downward toward the lowest part of the range, and at any moment this support could break. Even up to this point, 50% of this support has already been broken. Because here we can see that no candle had closed below $4.50 on the daily chart. But with the candle that formed here 4 days ago and ICP dropped by about 8%, this caused the candle to close below $4.50 and gave us a midterm confirmation that this support has really lost 50% of its strength. We need to see what happens in the next few days. But it's not good news for ICP if this very heavy range gets broken to the downside. What matters for ICP is that when these ranges are usually broken to the downside, it's highly likely to be a fake out. And those who had long positions in ICP in these areas might get shaken out. For example, in these areas, those who opened long positions could get liquidated if the price drops here, and then the price could bounce back up. In this area, it could take on a similar pattern where the price might make a small bounce for now and then go back down again. And when it gets here, if the price manages to come back up towards $5, we'll become bullish on ICP again. But in the current situation it's in right now, it's really not in a good position. On ICP right now, in the 4-hour time frame, we can see that it has created a very large gap in this area. It becomes oversold in the 4-hour time frame. ICP usually gets a bounce. For example, look at this part here. It's oversold. When it reached this position, there was a bounce, and in this part, there was another bounce. So usually the RSI, when it reaches the oversold area in the 4-hour time frame, we get a bounce. We need to see where this bounce will take us. What's important for ICP is that this gap it has created, I personally think it might go up a bit to fill this gap and then drop again. Or it might just drop from here, then come back up for a fake out and shake out those who had buy positions in ICP. And personally, I believe that as long as ICP's price doesn't reach above $5, its situation will remain tough. But if the price goes back above the range and enters this $5 area, things will be okay again. But again, it also depends on Bitcoin's chart. As I mentioned before, when we want to analyze altcoins, we also need to analyze Bitcoin's chart, because Bitcoin is like the king of crypto. And in this particular part, if we carefully go down and truly backtest this resistance level, and it subsequently goes even lower, which is indeed very difficult, but if the price drops and then comes back above the range and forms something like this here, meaning it creates a structure like this chart would actually become very bullish. And we've seen this kind of structure before. We can almost see it in XRP, where XRP has done the same thing before. Look here, XRP was in a very large range, and here it broke down out of that range, and the price managed to backtest this resistance. It went down again, then closed above the range again, and the price went up a bit. It's very important for ICP that if it breaks down below this range, it comes back above it. On the weekly time frame, we can also see that ICP's MACD is slowly turning red, and it's facing a very tough situation. Let's go to the Celestia chart and see how things are looking. Celestia's situation has gotten much worse. We had already drawn this long-term trend line and said that if it goes above this trend line, it will become very bullish. But what Bitcoin has done to altcoins, since Bitcoin's price dropped a bit, it caused altcoins to also experience significant price drops over the past few weeks. And here you can see that when the price broke this very long-term trend line, Celestia's volume was very high in this area. And this really personally shows that bullish momentum was returning to Celestia, but it couldn't sustain itself. And with the price drop in Bitcoin, Celestia's price also fell. Celestia has now fallen back below the trend line and at the same time has lost this short-term support, and its last support level is roughly here. It's at around $1.30 and it's very important for it to hold this level. It's possible that Celestia might have a bounce and its price could go up to these areas, filling these gaps. And in the 4-hour time frame, you can see that there hasn't been any green volume as large as these red ones that have formed so far. And the price is dropping sharply during these days. And we have to see if it makes a small bounce and comes here, or even if it comes up to this area, it could still go back down again. What matters for Celestia, if it wants to regain bullish momentum, is that when Celestia bounces and moves up to these areas, it needs to reach close to $2. That's when bullish momentum will return to it. But if Celestia is at this level, which is its last support level here, and if the bounce it makes can close above these gaps, in other words, its price needs to close around here, this might be the last support, and if this one breaks too, it could go even lower. On the daily time frame, you can also see that Celestia has been dropping for several days in a row now. It's been almost 5 days. This is the 5th day that Celestia has been falling, and most likely we're going to see a small bounce in the market. Let's see where this bounce takes us. And if the price reaches this area, we can become bullish again. But as long as it's below this trend line, it's lost all its moving averages, lost its short-term support, and the last support is here. It's going to be very difficult for it. As you can see in the RSI, I mentioned that the trend line we had drawn in the RSI was broken and then it went back inside again. With Bitcoin as well, you can see that we talked about Bitcoin yesterday and said this is the last support, which is very important for it to hold. And we can see that the price, after filling the 4-hour gap in this area, had a pullback. And in this section, we still haven't seen a strong green volume that could give Bitcoin a good bounce and push it upward. As long as Bitcoin is below this resistance, it's going to have a very tough time. If the price can manage to get back above this resistance, its situation will become much better. But as long as it's below this resistance, if it breaks and this support also breaks, things will get tough and Bitcoin could drop down to around $107,000. It would become very difficult for both Bitcoin and the altcoins. On the other hand, if we look at Tether dominance, today Tether dominance has gone up by almost 2%, and if this dominance continues to rise, it's not good at all for altcoins. As you can see, it has formed a head and shoulders pattern. This head and shoulders pattern will be confirmed when this part here breaks upwards and does a back test. Once that happens, the head and shoulders will be confirmed, and altcoins will really have a tough time. As long as it's below this resistance, it's okay. It needs to get rejected here. If it doesn't get rejected, things will get difficult. I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe. And don't forget, the trading game is never 100% certain. We'll have to see what happens in the coming weeks. Hopefully, Bitcoin will make a good bounce and pull the altcoins up with it. And don't forget, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. Until the next video, take care.